大家好，今天的话是这个2025年的11月2日，我持续录影这个所谓的 anabolic primer 的部分，那这里有一些关键字 ，hormone 是 hormone，cholesterol 是 cholesterol，cerebral cortex 乳推体内皮质，permeability 是吐跨素 ，oxytocin 是乌西吐型，testosterone 是 testosterone，好，这6个关键字。那这里有一篇文章，然后我持续来阅读。那这是旁边的一个附注。Whether or not we gain or lose fat or gain lose muscle or any combination in between under hormone control, which is regulated by your diet and genetic makeup. Therefore, recommendations regarding the diet should always be made with knowledge of what effect a chosen food or combination of foods will have on hormones cascaded that make up fat, huge, repeat, etc., etc., which bring regular MuscleMag columnist commenting on the interaction between diet and hormone control. 那这一章节讲的是所谓的 hormone manipulation. Of all the methods employed by bodybuilders to increase muscular gains, by far the most effective is hormone manipulation. Realizing that there is only so much that can be achieved by increasing nutrition intake, protein, vitamin, mineral, etc., etc. Many athletes get to the heart of the matter and boost the rates at which athletes use to modify their biochemistry. A brief introduction to basic endocrinology is needed. Hormone control. The human body contains two main control networks, the endocrine and the nervous system. Although both are important, it is the endocrine system that athletes tend to tinker around with. The chief messengers of the endocrine system are hormones which may be either peptide or steroid in nature. Peptide hormones are manufactured from amino acid combinations. Steroid hormones are produced from cholesterol in the gonad and the cerebral cortex. Hormones are released by glands into the surrounding extracellular fluid and travel by way of the bloodstream to target organs. 那旁边还有一段译文，旁边还有一段这个附注。In general, hormones are responsible for the process of tissue remodeling. That is the process of laying down new muscle tissue. Although you can exert great control over some hormones by diet alone, exercise is required to generate the complete hormone spectrum which will result in muscle gain and fat loss. John Perillo, a regular MuscleMag columnist and a recognized expert on nutrition and exercise, commenting on the interaction between exercise and hormone control. Hormones are not believed to start chemical reaction but merely increase or decrease existing reaction. They do this in a number of ways. First, they can speed up the production of enzymes, substances that control the rate of chemical reaction. Second, hormones may increase or decrease the amount of reactant available for a chemical reaction. Or third, hormones may increase the rate at which substance cross cell membranes called permeability. Most endocrine glands are controlled by various structures in the brain, the most important of which is the hypothalamus. This small structure located towards the front of the brain is the body's chief control center. The hypothalamus controls such behaviors: hunger, thirst, red, sex, and fear. Closely associated with the hypothalamus is a structure known as the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is subdivided into posterior and anterior sections, both of which have separate functions. The posterior pituitary release peptide hormones, protein in nature， 什么啦？这在录影呢。Which are produced in the hypothalamus. Included in this category of hormones are vasopressin, a water-conserving hormone, and oxytocin, a labor-introduced hormone. For a bodybuilding perspective, is the anterior pituitary that has the greatest role, as this gland controls the gonads, testes, and the ovaries. For these two structures to function properly, they must be regularly stimulated by hormones produced by the anterior pituitary, called luteinizing hormone (LH) and the follicle stimulation hormones (FSH). These two hormones tell either the testes or the ovaries to produce testosterone, or estrogen. Feedback control. Over the process of evolution, the human body has developed a mechanism whereby its hormone levels are constantly monitored and adjusted. Called feedback control, this system allows the body to maintain hormone equilibrium by increasing or decreasing hormone production. The best example we can think of to explain feedback control is a common household furnace and the thermostat. If we set a thermostat to 20 度C and the temperature falls below 20 度C, the thermostat will signal the furnace to increase the output of heat. Once the temperature reaches 20 Celsius, the thermostat detects the increase and now tells the furnace to decrease its output. After a period of time, the temperature once again falls below 20 Celsius, and the thermostat tells the furnace to rectify the situation. This interaction between the furnace, thermostat, and the heat is called feedback control. Analogous system occur in the human body. In males, sperm production is controlled by the interaction of testosterone produced by the testes and LH produced by the anterior pituitary. When testosterone levels fall, the anterior pituitary picks up one these and begins producing more LH. Increased LH signals the test to increase testosterone level, which in turn increases sperm production. When testosterone levels reach a certain level, LH production shuts down. When testosterone level decrease, the anterior pituitary once again increase LH output and the cycle repeats. Testosterone. Of all the hormones circulating in the human body, none play a more active role than the sex hormones. They are the chief reason why male and females have physical difference. The primary male hormone is testosterone, produced by the testes. We stress the word male because females also have testosterone circulating in their bodies. Conversely, males have estrogen in their bodies. Even though estrogen is referred to as a female hormone, one of the breakdown products of testosterone is estrogen. It is the relative concentrations of both that have given rise to the term male and female. Testosterone has two main functions in male: sperm production and the development of the secondary sex characteristics. With regard to the sperm production, sperm cells are the male reproductive cell containing half the human chromosome number. The second major functions of testosterone is to start and maintain the male's secondary sex characteristics. These characteristics can be subdivided into anabolic and androgenic effects. The words anabolic come from the word anabolism, one of the two subdivisions of the metabolism. In brief, metabolism is the sum total of all the chemical reactions that take place in the human body. Reactions involving a synthesis of large molecules from small ones are called anabolic. Breakdown reactions where large molecules of broken down into smaller ones are called catabolic. Testosterone is primarily anabolic in nature, and the chief among its effects are increasing muscle size and strength. The main reason why males are on average bigger and stronger than females is because they have a higher testosterone level. Besides anabolic effects, testosterone produces androgenic effects. These include increased facial and body hair, and the deepening of the voice. Testosterone produces its great effect during puberty, the time period in early adolescence when male and female become sexually mature. As you may know, hormones do not work alone in the body. It is combined interaction of all hormones which generate the physiological adaptation to exercise. Hormones are released into the bloodstream to exert their effects on the target tissue throughout the body, while substances called growth factors act mainly locally to stimulate growth. John Perillo, a regular muscle-memory columnist, having seen the importance of endocrinology to human physiology, we now turn our attention to the actual means by which athletes modify their biochemistry. We must trace that many of the substances and practice outlined in the following section are illegal in many countries. If there are any doubts as to your country's law, play it safe and refrain from using any of these substances. In addition, the medical evidence is not conclusive as to the health risks of many of the following drugs. For this reason, we suggest that teenagers never use any of the following drugs, and older individuals should only do some under medical supervision. 好，那其实还可以再念一点点，看一下这一段是怎么样子。还可以往再念一点点哈。So many people write such incredibly insane things about steroids that sometimes you wonder if these people underemployed by Oscar Mayer is good Bellamy. Jeff Everson, former muscle and fitness editor, commenting on the most misunderstood drug in bodybuilding, anabolic steroids. 那这里是合成代谢型类固醇。Anabolic steroids. Of all the drugs associated with athletes, none have captured the public attention like anabolic steroids. From Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson debacle at the 1988 Olympic to revelation of use by WWF wrestlers. Few sporting events have been left untouched by these muscle building agents. History. Contrary to popular belief, anabolic steroids used not start with Ben Johnson in 1988. They are the result of over a century research into hormone control. Early researchers were not attempting to improve athlete performance. They were searching for the fountain of youth. In 1898, Dr. Brown Sequard developed an extra derived from dog testes. After injecting himself with the concoction, he felt a rejuvenating effect, particularly in matter of sexual performance. His colleagues never take him seriously though, and within 5 years he died. We all know steroids are used throughout bodybuilding. I have to admit that I like to see the freaky size of the steroid user, but I quite bothered when a roid boy say he got his muscular development from his great genetic and hard training. Okay, some maybe some of them do have above average genetic potential and train hard, but so do a lot of naturals. Out there is a major difference in the size of the competitors in the non-tested shown and the tested shows. You cannot tell me that the difference is due to hard training or the genetics. There is no doubt about it. Steroids work. MuscleMag reader, voicing his opinion on bodybuilders who blame their freaky size on hard training and good genetic rather than chemical assistances. At the turn of the century, other research went a step further and began carrying out the transplants on human using monkey testicles. Although there was a temporary rejuvenating effect. Lifespans were not increased, and the only substantiated side effect was to give the recipients monkey syphilis. Syphilis. The first big break in anabolic steroid research came in the mid-1930s when German pharmacologist Dr. Lacour isolated crystals from bull testicles. Dutch chemists gave the substance the name testosterone. Shortly thereafter, Swiss researchers succeeded in the synthesizing testosterone and other closely related derivatives from cholesterol. Research carried out the next decade indicated that this newly synthesized drug, which belonged chemically to a class of drugs called steroids, produced such anabolic effect as increased muscle size and strength. It was long before the terms anabolic and steroid were matched together and a new age in pharmacology began. During the late 1930s and early 1940s, researchers realized that these new anabolic steroids have potential for use in sports. After all, any drug that increases muscle size and strength and at the same time decreases body fat level was applicable to a wide range of athletic events. Once this news got around the athlete community, it wasn't long before the first syringes and the virus vials started appearing in locker rooms. Debut in sports. Trying to pinpoint the exact moment steroids become part of sports is difficult because most of the participants have since passed away. And given the harsh treatment experienced by modern athletes who fail drug tests, it's doubtful that any survival athlete from the 1930s and 1940s would ever admit to their use. Another point to consider that anabolic steroid classification did not take place overnight, but over a few decades. In all probability, many athletes were using some forms of steroid or testosterone derivative and not even aware of it. The first documented case of steroid use was in 1931 when our Swedish athlete admitted to use a product called Rejuven. Rejuven was a German drug that contained testosterone, albeit in a small doses. 好，那这里有一段话。If I would tell you just how many of the athletes are on the gear around the world, you would be very surprised and yet said, "Man, sorry, but it is the way it is. I cannot change it, and the more you guys make the worst of it, the worse it will get. Finally, I would suggest you look at the fact that there are as many athletes on hard drugs as there are on steroids." Mick Hart, MuscleMag, columnist responding to the British readers' accusations that only bodybuilders use steroids and other forms of athletes are steroid-free. The workers of Dr. John Ziegler, one of the most prominent. One of the most prominent stereo researchers during the 1950s was Dr. John Ziegler. In 1944, 54, while accompanying the U.S. weightlifting team to Vienna, Ziegler heard through the grapevine that Soviet athletes were using testosterone derivatives to boost their performance. And it wasn't just male, as Ziegler noticed many female athletes who revealed a degree of masculinization that could only be attributed to steroid use. After witnessing the effect the drugs had on Soviet athletes, Ziegler went back to the States and began to carry out his own research. His investigation carried out in the late 1950s were probably the first medically surprised study ever conducted using athletes as steroids. Dr. Ziegler's research reached a climax in 1959 when he began examining the effects of steroid dynamo on California weightlifters. Ziegler's satisfaction of achieving hard data was quickly erased when he discovered that some of his research subjects were taking up to the 20 times the recommended dose. After Ziegler terminated his study, he was heard commenting, "I lost interest in fooling with IQs of that caliber." Used in bodybuilding. The first reports used of anabolic steroid among bodybuilders was by former Mr. Universal Bill Pearl in an interview with Muscle and Fitness magazine in June of 1984. Pearl told having his curiosity aroused by Dr. Arthur John, inventor of the Nautilus line of exercise machine in 1958. Dr. John told Pearl the secret chemical the Soviet was using, not being one to blindly take anything he was unfamiliar with. Pearl headed to the library of the University of California to do his own research. After a veterinarian informed him about the effects the steroid never Niliva have on Castle, Pearl decided to settle his curiosity, and the 3-month trial period brought Pearl 25 pounds increase in muscle mass, accompanied by a dramatic increase in strength. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, the use of steroids among the world's bodybuilders grew at an alarming rate. The situation reached a point where virtually all contestants in a given show were believed to use one or more anabolic steroids. The purpose for such speculation began to surface in the 1980s as many of the sports greats started admitted to steroid use. Among the bodybuilders who have admitted to use steroids during their competitive career include Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mike Matarazzo, Larry Scott, Mike Metzer, and Tom Place. 这里有一段话。 There is an almost universal belief that the champion of the past were natural. Hardly a week goes by that someone doesn't remind me how the past Mr. American and Mr. Universal winners did naturally. Not so nearly all of the famous and the old-timer 95% were gold gear. Robert Kennedy, MuscleMag international creator and best-selling author, commenting on the misconception that the great bodybuilding champion of the past were all natural. First synthesis. After the isolation of testosterone crystal in the 1930s, scientists began to work on developing de- derivatives that would maximize the anabolic growth promoting effects and minimize the androgenic masculinism effects. Since complete disassociation of anabolic to androgenic effect is not possible, most of the available anabolic steroid acts in the same manner as testosterone。那这一张有个化学的简图啊，看起来应该是一个就是一个4个苯环连在一起啊，其中有一个是断掉的这样子。Antibody steroid like their testosterone relatives, the molecule that contain 19 carbon atoms, arranged geometrically in the following manner. The above molecule consists of 3 6-side rings joined to one 5-side ring. Even though they are not right in at each corner, there is one carbon atom. In some respects, scientists are like secretary in that they prefer to use shorthand to make things simpler. For classification purposes, each carbon is numbered from 1 to 19. This whole structure represented one molecule of the particular drug, and it is called a steroid molecule. Although other side groups attachment of atom to one or more the carbon atom may be present. Over the population used antibody steroid contain this basic steroid molecule or nucleus. Like most steroid hormones, testosterone is poorly absorbed by the gastrointestinal tract, and anything which does reach the bloodstream is quite quickly deactivated by the liver. To increase the effectiveness of antibody steroid for the therapeutic purposes, scientists have added a side group to the carbon 17 position, called the alkyl group. These forms of steroids are less susceptible to degradation by the liver. Other derivatives called 19 non-testosterones are among the most effective antibody steroids known. They have great anabolic properties and small androgenic properties. 好，我们就读到这里啊。